I think that's a really crucial thing for everyone to pay attention to if you're open to it. And again, I'm going to say this, your current belief system, is it working? Hello and welcome to my podcast, Show Up. My name is Darryl Dittmer. As someone who built financial freedom from scratch, I understand what's possible, as there was a time when I thought I had only a life of mediocrity ahead of me. Drinking, drugs, and zero confidence plagued me. The one thing that changed my life is when I decided to do things differently and give success a chance. And I don't just mean financial success, I mean life success. I started to show up to my life and my career, and one step after another provided me the life I never thought possible. At any age, life begins to change when you start to show up. Welcome to my podcast. Something else that I'm not so chill about is groups and alignment with the belief system of a group or groups. And what that can mean in terms of limiting belief systems and limiting where we can take ourselves in this lifetime if we're hampered by the belief systems of a group. And me as an example, I started on this planet with a Lutheran education and was at church every Sunday. And that's what, is the Protestant work ethic thing. Which in many ways was a very good thing for me. And in some ways, it just wasn't. And I'll say this again, I'll say this many times, probably throughout this little discussion about groups, that what's the litmus test of whether or not a group is working for you in your life? The litmus test is, for me, am I waking up in the morning with a smile on my face? Or am I a mess? Or am I somewhere in between? Can I grow? Can I grow my belief system? Can I grow my experience on this planet? And those are the questions for me now. I didn't know to ask those questions when I was a kid. So I'm handed this box of beliefs when I'm young, and it included being a Lutheran. And one thing I learned about Lutheranism was that Martin Luther, the dude who invented it, used to flog himself because he was such a sinner. I don't know how healthy that is. I'm guessing not terribly healthy. Is that something I want to do to myself if I do something wrong? No, I'd rather just kind of learn from it. I don't feel like I have to rip skin off of my back to say, hey, I'm sorry, or I'll do better. So there's something wrong with that to begin with. And I'm not saying religions are bad. I'm not saying groups are bad. I don't believe that they are bad. I do believe they have a place in society, in life. I absolutely do. I no longer consider myself a Lutheran, but I consider myself a believer in God, and I would look at my life from the perspective of what's going on in here, in my heart and in my spirit, and what does that do for me according to what I believe. And so it does some pretty powerful things for me. And they don't have to do with guilt. They don't have to do with fear. They don't have to do with shame. They have to do with, wow, man, I wake up in the morning and life is really freaking cool. And that, to me, is because I expanded my belief system. And in particular, I had to look at what I believed a long time ago and say, is this working or is it not working? And what I believed a long time ago wasn't working. And I've been compiling my belief system ever since, based on what feels right, not what somebody tells me to believe or not what a group tells me to believe. And I think that's really crucial to round out your life and to allow yourself to change. because I've been in the 12 steps. That's another group that I have been involved in, and I haven't been involved for a long time, but I would say that at that time in my life, I owe my life to a 12-step program because I was a disaster. I was a mess. I was a mess in here. And before I started to unravel that for myself, I wasn't certain that I wanted to be alive. And so that's where I was. And I got involved in the 12 steps. And to me, it was a roadmap for living. And it catapulted me to another place. It catapulted me to something that was an expansion of the 12 steps. If the 12 steps is this big, it brought me into something significantly bigger. And in terms of just rounding out what I believe and expanding what I believe. And I think that's a really crucial thing for everyone to pay attention to if you're open to it. And again, I'm going to say this, your current belief system, is it working? One of the things we used to say in the 12 steps, and it had to do with masterminding, and this guy that I met in the 12 steps, and he was a big mastermind guy, and we used to have these mastermind meetings, and at the end we'd talk about being happy, joyous, and free. So is your belief system allowing you to be happy, joyous, and free, or are you stuck on, man, I sure hope I don't go to hell. I better not do that. I might go to hell. That's a really limiting belief system to me. And I truly believe that we can expand beyond that belief system into something that's with much more breadth and much more depth. So religion, 12 steps, to finish up 12 steps, I haven't been to a meeting in a long time. I have nothing against the 12 steps. And I think they're a beautiful place for people to put themselves in a position where they're living their life in such a way that they don't desire to feel differently via whatever it is, alcohol, drugs, food, sex, gambling, social media, attention. They don't have to have those things to feel right. And that's the key for me. And I believe that's the key for you too, but I'm putting this out there so you find that out for yourself. I'm not going to convince you. I'm just going to plant the seed. So groups, and here's a big one today, political groups. The good news is I didn't pay any attention to politics. I would vote, not all the time, but I didn't pay any attention to politics. I honestly probably didn't even know the difference between a Democrat and a Republican until I was much older in life. And I think that's a great thing. I thank God for that, to be quite honest with you. No religion cited, but God. And the reason I'm excited about it is because, to me, this will probably piss some people off, but whatever. If I have to subscribe to a political belief system and that's what I'm going to believe, then I necessarily have to be hypocritical, because at some point, my side, whatever that side is going to do something that I shamed the other side for doing, and I'm going to have to support it. And I can't help people. I can't help you be honest with yourself. That's your thing. But for me, I can't choose a political side, because that would not be Darryl being honest with himself. That would be Darryl being hypocritical, because I'd have to support something that I shamed on the other side at some point, because it's all cyclical. It just goes around and around and around and around. And I watch people get angry at each other because of politics. And I'm like, well, I know how I would lean from the perspective of how I live my life, but it has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with how I live my life from a principled perspective. And that's, to me, what matters. So politics can be a huge chasm between people, and especially lately, and I don't believe it has to be. I think we should go back to 3 things you don't talk to other people about: who you vote for, what your religion is, and how much money you make. Can we just go back to that? Because I don't care what you believe politically. I really don't. But I do care if you try to make me believe what you believe, because my life already works. I don't need to believe what you believe. I really don't. And it's up to all of us, and it's up to you to determine, is your life working the way you want it to, happy, joyous, and free? Is it functioning like that based on those boxes of belief that you've subscribed to? And I can't answer that question for you. Only you can answer that question for you. But that's what I would say about groups. And I truly believe that if you just allow yourself the opportunity and open it up for a little bit of time and say, you know what, I'm going to investigate something else. I'm going to investigate another way to look at politics. I'm going to investigate other ways to look at belief systems on this planet from a religious perspective. And I'm going to, look at other ways to grow and maybe another way to recover. Doesn't mean I have to abandon what I'm doing, but at least I'm going to look. I'm going to consider other ways. And I think that's a really important thing for you to do. I truly do. And if you want to expand yourself and not, here's one thing about, a couple things about religion. And again, I think religion is great for many, many people. It keeps them on track, gives them a place to go, allows a belief system. And I think that's great. But here's one thing I heard about religion, which I thought was interesting, is, and I forget whose quote it was, but there are over 5,000 religions and or gods in this world, but don't worry, yours is the only one that's correct, which is amazing to me. I love that quote because I believe that's true. I believe that people believe that only theirs is correct and everybody else is in big trouble. Well, that can't be true. The other thing about religion, and faith to me is incredibly important, but not faith from a religious perspective, faith in life. And I have immense faith in life. It's built in. And when I look at people who are religious and they talk about their faith, and then they have to ask God for faith constantly, I'm like, well, how come you don't already have it? Why are you just repeating that request for faith? Don't you have it? Isn't it built in? Where does it go if you have to keep asking for it? Something's wrong with that, in my opinion. Again, not trying to piss anybody off, but you know what? These are the things that I'm not so chill about, because I don't think none of us should be chill about it. We should be asking these questions. Ask these questions of yourself and your life. And to me, that is showing up. That is showing up for my life, and not the little show up, not lowercase show up. That's uppercase show up. Because I'm showing up to ask questions. I'm showing up to expect more from myself, but also I'm expecting more from life. And I know life has more to give me. Until they're kicking dirt on my face or, cremating me or whatever the heck they're going to do at the end, until they're doing that, I'm going to keep investigating. And I want you to do the same thing. Thank you for joining us on the Show Up podcast. To learn more about me, my coaching, or my books, please feel free to visit my website, DarrylDittmer.com. DarylDittmer.com. Thank you.